Okay. Next spot. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. How's my volume? Can everybody hear me? Okay, I'm just making sure I don't need to be on the microphone if I don't have to be, just because it gets a little fuzzy in here and we're recording on Zoom as well. So if you are not here for a public speaking class, you are at the wrong place. Just making sure. Did that in college a lot. So obviously here we are. This is our very first community business lecture series. And it's gonna be on public speaking. And I am Samantha. And my clicker's not working. Liam. My clicker's not working. It's our first one. It's fine. Okay, ready? Okay. So, who am I? I am the executive director here at the Kenai Chamber of Commerce. Why should I be talking to you about public speaking? I have to do it a lot. Also, fun facts for you guys. I was terrified of public speaking when I was younger. And we're gonna go way back. 10-year-old Sam. I am on the stage, ready to sing Stand By Me in front of our entire school. With 2 of my friends, we are harmonized, we are ready to go, we are prepared, we are excited. We kill it. Till that night in front of parents. Fast forward to the nighttime show, I look and I see my mom, and I'm like, I got this. I did not got this. Stand by me, nothing, not a single word could come out of my mouth. And I just stood there in front of the entire parent body of the school in elementary school. And I stood there, froze, no standing by me. My friends were like stepping away. And I just remember being like, I'm never getting on a stage again. This is it. It's, and then Stand By Me, dead. It's dead to me. I hate that song. It's a good song. So fast forward to college, I wouldn't say recruited into a sorority. I'd say forced into being part of it because they knew I was good at getting donations and they wouldn't leave me alone in political science until I helped them. And I didn't want to fail that class. So I joined a sorority and they make me the philanthropy chair. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, you need to go talk at these things. I didn't want to join the sorority to begin with, and now you want me to speak. And then I realized that when you actually know about the topic you're speaking about, it's actually not as hard as being unprepared. Like, I wasn't a professional singer at 10, but it put it into my head that this is it. Like, I'm not gonna be able to do this again. Fast forward and I realized, okay, it's not that hard if you actually are prepared. And that's kind of why we're going into this, is that, a lot of times, just fast forward. So the importance of public speaking, obviously, is that there are times where you're going to want to present in front of people, and you need to figure out a way to make yourself comfortable. And that's kind of what we're going to go through is, the fears. Who in here has done public speaking? Just raise a hand. How many people were comfortable when they did public speaking the first time? How about the 4th or 5th time? Anybody? Oh, we got 1. Okay, so it's good you're here because we're going to talk a lot about perception versus reality. Okay, so can anyone just shout out a random fear when they're public speaking? What'd you say? Cough attack. Because you're sick or just because you think it could randomly happen? Yeah. Sure. Yep. Yep. Stand by me. Go on. Right? But sometimes that is something that we have created in our own heads, and you get yourself so worked up to the point where you have made this fear overwhelming. And then all of a sudden, you've just manifested that fear. So then you get on stage and all you're thinking about is, I'm going to lose my train of thought, and you lose your train of thought. Right? So what is the definition of public speaking? Webster's Dictionary, the act or process of making speeches in public. Super easy, right? Everybody can do it, no problem. Oral communication with an audience. Right? Everybody knows exactly what that is. Now, the fundamentals of public speaking are very important. So body language. If you're not comfortable, it's going to show. If you stand behind a podium staring at your notes the whole time, it's actually going to make it more uncomfortable for you because of the fact that you're not showing that you're confident in what you're talking about. And the people will start to respond to that, and they'll start doing other things. You will lose your audience. So body language is key for sure. Voice modulation, just like I asked you when we first started. Can you guys hear me? If some of you couldn't, I would have gotten on the microphone. You have to check with your audience too to make sure that what you're doing and enunciating and making sure that you are speaking clearly so that the audience is staying engaged. Because you will start to notice when you lose people, and that sucks. Content organization. Be prepared. It is hard to lose track of what you're doing if you have a presentation ready to go. If you are just doing a speech, sometimes that can be a little harder, but we'll get into that. So, has anyone heard of imposter syndrome? All the medical. So, imposter syndrome is something that is, again, this goes back to perception versus reality. When somebody doesn't think that they are good enough for what they're doing, this is a problem. Something that we really need to overcome. Persistent doubt concerning one's ability or accomplishments, okay? So if you don't have confidence in what you're doing, and this happens all the time, it doesn't matter what job field you're in, you get into this mindset of, do I deserve what I'm doing? Should I be the executive director of this building? Do I have the experience to do these things? And it is something that we gotta stop, because if you are doing it, you're supposed to be, unless you're some kind of crazy fraud, which, that's a whole other subject we're not even gonna get into, okay? But this is something that happens constantly and actually really prevents people from moving forward with what they should be doing, because it's a mental block that you don't think that you are good enough to do what you're doing. So, overcoming anxiety. Anxiety is probably one of the biggest reasons people have issues doing public speaking, right? To stand in front of you. I have to talk to you. I have to look at you. Oof, I don't know what to do. I don't imagine anyone naked. Like, to me, that never makes sense. Yeah, like, that's not one of my keys to overcoming anxiety. But it is a process, because anxiety is a real thing. I mean, the pressure of standing in front of people and explaining how to do something can be very hard, okay? And I want everyone to know that that's okay. Like, to feel anxious is a normal feeling. It happens to me every single luncheon. To this day, because it's not as structured. It's like, okay, yeah, we have a list of things to do, but am I going to forget something? It's usually, we're making the list, Liam knows, sometimes 10 minutes before that. So it's okay. So biggest thing, know your topic. If you plan on speaking on a topic, you should know your topic. If you don't know your topic, maybe you shouldn't be speaking on it. That's a big thing. Like, research it. If you don't know it and you're supposed to do it for like a class, you probably should know more than what you found online. Because if I was just going off of something that I pulled offline, it would not make sense. And you'd have to have every single bullet point up here, including all my text, right? Do you have a question? Yeah. 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 The slides will be available and the video will be available. Yeah, no problem. Challenge or question your fear. So again, if you're starting to think, I'm going to forget everything, look over your slides. Kind of what is making me feel so upset about doing this? Sometimes it is something really simple that you can just kind of knock out of the way and just get it out of there. But if you don't confront those or challenge them, they're just gonna sit there, like, in the back of your mind the entire time you're going. And that is completely, that's one of my things, is stumbling over words. I'm worried that that's gonna happen. It happens, but I know it's going to happen, and I know that it's not a big deal, because I still have your engagement and hopefully your trust that what I'm presenting is not gonna make a difference because I bumble a word, right? Get organized. Again, I can't stress this enough. It goes with know your topic, have your presentation, know exactly where you want to go with things, and make sure that if you have questions that go with your slides, that you're prepared for that. Choose focus points. If you are somebody who doesn't like to make eye contact, you can stare at the top of someone's head. I don't mind, but it was how I got there. I would literally look at like right here. So I'm still engaging with my audience, but it wasn't as intimidating. That was back in college. Now I'm like, I'm gonna look you right in the eye. Okay. But if that's what you need to do it. Again, you're gonna get more comfortable the more you talk, but find that place before you get there. You don't have to just jump in. Practice. I have practiced this in my office and at home and at 3 a.m. because I have problems. But there is nothing better you can do for yourself when you are planning on doing a public speaking event than practice what you're going to talk about, especially if you don't have a slideshow. So if you have a speech that you're going to be doing and you don't want to just stand in front of a podium reading said speech, just practice it. Eventually, it'll be just words coming out of your mouth. There's nothing wrong with taking a minute to breathe. If you feel like you're starting to have anxiety, that's a time too where you can open it up for questions. You can kind of see like, hey, does anyone want to take a 5-minute break? No one is going to fault you for taking a break during a lecture, especially if you're going for an hour, okay? And people forget that. And then the biggest thing for me, when you're done, recognize your success. It doesn't matter if it was the worst presentation you've ever done in your life. You got up there, you stood there, and you talked in front of all those people. And so you recognize it. And that's how you move forward and you grow. And if there's a lot of things that you messed up, take note of it. Figure out better practices. Take some classes. But just because something isn't perfect doesn't mean it's a failure. So we have to celebrate that stuff. Visual aids in public speaking. These are so important. And again, you can't always have them. Some places don't have AV equipment. Some places don't, sometimes you can have a packet. Something to help keep you on track, help keep the audience on track, right? So yeah, I answered that. That's important. It does enhance the presentation. This is something to kind of know where I am in the presentation and for you to know where we are. Stay focused, right? How easy is it to get off track, especially if somebody asks a question and you're allowing questions during? It is really easy to get off topic, okay? You can just go, oh, now I know what it is. And it helps you to, you want to be rehearsed, but you don't want to be too rehearsed. Emphasizing important points. Again, I'm not going to put every word that I'm saying onto that, but this helps me immensely because I am a scatterbrained person. I am. And I know that about myself, and that's why these are important. There are some people who could probably do one of these without any assistance. I'm not that person, and I don't think that's a problem. It can take focus off of you. So again, this goes back to comfort, fear, anxiety. If there's something else for them to look at, it gives you a chance for them to look at the screen, for you to kind of reset, right? And if you're doing anything that has to do with percentages, graphs, anything like that, this is the place it needs to be. Because if you're talking about numbers, those visual aids are going to help you every time. It's so much easier to show something, 25% versus, all the different levels if you have something on that screen than me just telling it to you. Storytelling and public speaking. What was the song in my story about stage fright? Okay, that's it. That was 8 slides ago, and you remembered, okay? So the importance of storytelling and how to do it. If you do it right, that's the response you get. Someone will remember. Doesn't have to be everybody, because not everybody has the same, I don't have the same attention span. I might not have remembered it if I was sitting there. But as long as some people are, you're at least doing it. Storytelling is so important because it makes you relatable, right? I'm not just someone up here blabbing. I'm someone telling you about a personal experience, why it matters, and what Like, how can you relate to me? Maybe you had a similar experience. Gives you credibility. Why is this person talking about anything? Well, obviously I'm doing public speaking to talk about public speaking, which is kind of helpful. If I was doing badly, that wouldn't be great, but you guys can let me know when we send out a survey. Helps to engage the audience more. Again, people are used to storytelling. That's how we pass on traditions. That's how we pass on a lot of things. That's why we read to our kids. It gets a point across, a message. It's positive, right? Showcases your personality. I think this is key because it's really easy to get lost in your presentation, and you might not know why I am the way I am or why things are important unless I give you a situation that explains that. Stand By Me is it. Like, there's a reason behind that. And the forced sorority join is a whole other topic. I could do a whole presentation on that. What's in a story? Introduction, conflict, and resolution. You need to have all of those parts for the story to make sense. Okay? So otherwise it's confusing. What is the point of your story if you don't actually have those things, and why are you telling it to me? Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions at this point so far? Okay. Effective communication. Oh, I didn't even, my bullets didn't work. Well, now you guys just get to read. So read the room. So if you notice a bunch of people are yawning or on their phone or doing things, you probably haven't engaged them. And maybe you want to rethink the way you do it the next time. Again, it's not a failure, it's a learning experience, right? But you can read a room and know where you're at. You can also tell if you're making people angry. You can tell if you're making people happy. You can tell if you're making people laugh. You can tell that. There's visual cues for that. So active listening. If I ask a question and you tell me an answer and then I don't do anything with that, you're just asking questions to ask questions. What was the point of that? And it'll show. I don't know a single person who hasn't said something, and if you don't respond to that, you're basically not validating that what they said was even important. So very important. Engage with the audience. Again, you can either do that throughout the presentation as far as asking questions or input, or you can, again, at the end, wait and do it all there, but engaging, making sure that you are checking in, and that goes with reading the room again too. Nope, too far. I thought my bullet points were not there. So, and again, if you do start to lose the audience, you should adapt if you can. I mean, again, if you're not comfortable adapting and you're just going to finish off what you're doing, then, just know for the next time that, you couldn't keep people on. It's probably better that you change things up or maybe turn it into a workshop or do something different where people are all doing things together. It just depends on your topic. Every subject is going to be completely different. This is specifically a lecture series, so I don't expect as much engagement, and I wasn't going to ask people who usually if you're taking a beginning public speaking class, you're not comfortable public speaking. So I wasn't planning on having anyone come up and do like a lecture hall style like you would in college. Those are terrifying. Like, I have done public speaking classes in college, and those are more terrifying than public speaking because it's on the spot and they make you come up. That's not what everything has to be like. Like, we're not trying to do that. And then always encourage discussion and questions, especially at the end. If you can't, and if you have trouble staying on task, ask people to keep their questions till the end. If you can bounce back and forth, do in the middle. There is no set way on how you can public speak. It is literally what you are comfortable with and what you're comfortable presenting. I hope that makes sense. So this went way too fast. Wow, I'm confused. So I had questions, concerns, and complaints, but those have to be redirected to Liam if there's any complaints. So he's right back there. And then I also was wondering if people wanted a second part to this lecture. This was a lot shorter than I thought it was. In fact, it went a lot faster than I thought. And then if people are interested in workshops, because that's when you could actually do exercises where you can engage people, but you have to warn them when you're doing that. I feel like when you just do a lecture, you shouldn't just pull everybody up. And again, I am really sorry that went so fast, but we can get into questions, which is great. Christine.
I have a lot of
If people are comfortable. Mhm. Yeah. Is there any questions before we move into something like that? And that's something, again, if you're not comfortable with doing something or any kind of exercise, we don't have to. Like, it's completely up to you. I am surprisingly fast on these things sometimes, and that's my own problem. I will adjust next time. Does anyone else have questions specifically about public speaking, though? Yeah.
So is there a time where you, other than standby, where you froze up, and like, what did you do to make that not happen in the future?
There's been so many times. Yeah, no, it wasn't like I just hit college and instantly was able to talk. It still happens all the time. Like, they'll just be like, what was I talking about? And luckily, again, I use a lot of visual aids for myself because I know how easily I can get distracted. I just have a lot going on in my brain, which most people do, and it's easy to get off topic. So I almost always have a paper or a presentation or my phone with something on it to kind of keep me there. But I mean, there's never going to be a perfect public speaking scenario personally for me, because even when I started this series today, like, I could feel it, my voice modulation, I could feel some of the vibrato, right? I knew I was nervous, but it's not nervous because I'm worried about doing it. It's just because it's a natural reaction. I feel like anytime you get in front of people, I know some of you and I don't know all of you, it's uncomfortable. And in the first thing that comes into your head is like, are they judging me? No, that's irrational fear. I mean, maybe you are. That's rude, right? But that should be your response of, they're not, but if they are, well, they're not nice people anyway, right? So I don't think there's ever, I mean, I don't know anybody who does public speaking that doesn't still get a little bit nervous. So I think that the best thing you can do is just recognize that and work on the things that make you the most nervous to try and get past it. But you might never get past, I'm not getting past it. So yeah.
I think what you just said, all that, it's all about confidence and conviction. So just kind of now, like, you were the #1 heart surgeon in the world. You didn't talk about a basic procedure. You would not have any of that imposter situation.
Correct.
Probably very little nervousness, etc., because you're confident and you have conviction on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, all the preparatory stuff, all the visuals, everything we talked about today, really, it's just about creating that confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So when you worry about the audience stressing out or whatever, it's all about convincing yourself this is your time and you're the expert. Here we go, and then that should help a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's all about confidence.
I will say, though, that I guarantee even that heart surgeon would have imposter syndrome sometimes. It is natural to feel, for some reason, that you don't deserve what you are. If things are going too well, it's like we self-sabotage sometimes. And even somebody who knows everything about everything in their field can feel that way sometimes, where they'll look at something and they'll be like, is this right? Am I doing this right? Am I worthy? Right? It is a fear that happens a lot. So was somebody online?
If you could just repeat the questions, since we don't have.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah.
Sam, you have some really great points there. I'll just share another tip is that you talked about engaging the audience. I had the greatest tip in when you start losing that audience and you do know, like you said, it's obvious because you're the one they're seeing body language.
Mm-hmm.
Stop and ask them a question.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you've done it. Let's have a raise of hands for whatever. But I would have those questions ready to go to wake that audience back up.
Yeah, and that's a great key.
To engage.
Yep. So just to repeat for the microphone. So basically, if you are starting to lose your audience, a really good tip, and this is a great one, is to ask your audience a question, have a raise of hands, something. But it is good to have those questions ahead of time, because then you don't have to randomly think up a mystery question. That's a good point. Anybody else have any questions?
I think it's kind of helpful too to know who your audience is.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you talking to?
Right. Yep. Know your audience. This thing, I'm like, know your audience. Very important. Questions? Does anyone want to talk about experiences they've had in public speaking where they were uncomfortable and kind of work past that?
I
Do you wanna-
had where, actually was performing, I wasn't speaking, but a lot of people were there. And one thing I found was about the 5th performance I did, I was really, really confident.
Mhm.
And I went up there like, I'm gonna nail this. And I bombed it.
Yep,
Just
overconfidence is
completely-
not always the key.
Yeah, so I find it's good to be a little nervous.
Yeah.
Just say,
It's humble.
oh, no, it was a musical performance.
So he said that on the 5th time he did a show, he actually bombed it. So we were talking about how overconfidence is not always necessarily key, which is true. Again, practice is great, but you can move in from confidence to cocky really quick and lose your footing. Kristen.
That made me think of a question. So I was overconfident because I'd been doing okay with public speaking, and I thought, obviously, I'm not one of those people who has a problem with it until I did, so I was overconfident. I didn't have my notes, and something was off with the PowerPoint. I couldn't quite see it, and it just threw me, and I froze, and I
Yeah.
couldn't remember anything about what I was going to talk about. And the longer I froze, the worse it got, to where,
Mhm.
I mean, maybe like running out and crying was the only option. But
Yeah.
I mean, it really froze up. And so after that, I always brought notes. But I just wonder, when you're just caught completely off guard and frozen, like, is there a trick? Like, you just to snap yourself out of it, or something you have in your back pocket to be like, to make it all better and start over?
So she asked if there's something that you can do if you absolutely freeze during a presentation. And I mean, I can tell you what I do. I don't know if it would work necessarily for everybody, but honestly, it's that take a minute. It's to take a couple breaths and like kind of refocus. When you completely freeze, it is a little bit tricky to get out of that, honestly. I mean, it would be for anybody.
People felt sorry for me.
I mean, like I said, when I was younger, I mean, I was froze and ran off stage crying. Like that was what happened there. When I have froze or forgot my train of thought as I've gotten older, my thing is the whole take a minute or be like, you know what? Can we just take 5 for a second, give everybody a chance to, talk amongst yourselves, go over your notes, go to the bathroom, and then you can go back to your notes or your slides or get them back up. And you can do it usually in a way that doesn't seem like you just completely lost it. But you can also be like, you know what? I am off. Can we just take 5 real quick and I'll get back? Because who's going to judge you for being honest? Again, not nice people, right? I think that the best policy is when you get to that point is to be genuine to yourself and to your audience and let them know what happened. Unless you can recover quickly, otherwise it can be really awkward and it would be hard to get out of that. But you could be like, I just need to take 5 really quick and I'll just come back. Everybody has issues where things come up. So might want to try that.
Can I just add to that and say it's yes to all of that, and sometimes, I mean, in my experience, employing humor in situations where you're just totally brain farting in front of a ton of people you don't know. Making a joke, like a self-deprecating joke, not too self-deprecating, it can just release a lot of your inner tension and the tension that might have built up among the audience because they know something's off.
Yeah.
But just like copying to that, like admitting you're feeling a little uncomfortable, or maybe that, like I am right now, that you totally lost your train of thought. It can just make it a lot less weird.
So yeah, incorporating humor and jokes definitely can help. I'll even give you an example of my very first luncheon here. I was very nervous because I knew nobody in here, not a single person. And I told Greg Stein, the board president, that I was going to make this joke. And he was like, that's how you want people to perceive you? And I was like, absolutely. So I made a joke that if you look back there, there's an empty spot where there's no animal. And this is in front of the city mayor and manager, everybody, right? And I was like, yeah, I had this plan that I was going to actually like take a cord and like jump down and introduce myself as the new executive director. And like not a single person in that room laughed because they didn't know me. And they were just like, okay. And it was like, whatever. now you have an idea of what you're getting. So hopefully this will get better as it goes along. But I remember Terry, you been going, please don't do that. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. I just thought, I mean, there's an empty spot up there, which is distracting to anyone who's speaking up here. I don't care who you are. That's a distracting spot to have empty. There's no animal there. Like, what happened to it? So I was like, yeah, I would just jump down from there and like surprise everybody. Did not go over, but I was like, I'm doing it. I'm gonna do it. And I did it. And I didn't do that. I talked about it. I don't want you to tell Terry that I did that. Yeah, oh yeah. And so, but yeah, everybody was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, hey, it's me. I'm a little weird, but you'll get used to it. So it's just, yeah, and it helped ease my like way in because I was like, I could just stand here and repeat what's on this list of what I'm supposed to say, or I could try and represent myself in some way, which I am quirky.
I had no idea that you were nervous. Like,
Oh gosh. Yeah, so nervous. Oh gosh, that was terrifying. That was a huge luncheon because that was the city update. Yeah, the one time we have this gigantic luncheon, the whole room is full, and I'm like, hi, Samantha. I came from Pepsi. Please don't judge me. Be nice. So that's what happened. But yeah, you just kind of, that humor does help. So any other questions, comments, concerns? Again, complaints, go to Liam.
I just have a comment.
Sure.
So when I public speak, I tend to talk really fast. I talk fast in general.
Yeah.
And so typically I'm giving speeches, presentations in timed environments.
Mm-hmm.
And so I practice really hard to go slow. And when I'm presenting, I need to be really intentional. Usually that means like having my water bottle and taking a sip of water after every slide or something. Really slow down.
You and I are on the exact same page. I can record a 30-second commercial in like 20 seconds. It's a problem.
Yeah.
And what was funny is right before this lecture, I brought my water bottle, which I guarantee not one of you have seen me take a sip of, and I brought my phone to put a timer on so I would know how long I was talking. I set up neither. So both of those things are huge for somebody who talks fast. I did a 45-minute presentation in 19 minutes. I will adjust. Yeah.
So you mentioned water bottle. That I'll tell my quick story.
Yeah.
My experience that is now a great story was horrific at the time, but I was speaking in front of, well, first of all, let me say that I was going to speak to 450 people, but I thought it was a half hour early because that's what I do, but I somehow was a half hour late. My calendar was wrong.
Oh, no.
And so I walk in the room and there's all these eyeballs and I'm like, oh, I was devastated. So I try to recover from that and I talk really fast too. And I don't enunciate. Anyway, that word.
Enunciate. We got you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And so I was halfway through my presentation. They were amazing, by the way. They were very forgiving and thought it was funny. I don't know what I said, but something. And I got that dry spot I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Like, and so I grabbed the nice cold bottle of water that they so kindly put at the podium. And I threw that baby back and it hit the back of my throat and I went to a spasm.
Oh,
Coughed, a coughing spasm, like I can't even, and it was so embarrassing. And it was probably, I don't know, 3-4 minutes. And they felt so bad. They were like, like their faces were amazing, but they were forgiving. They were amazing. But now I'm terrified to drink on stage.
yeah. Well, that is an understandable fear.
I don't want to throw that. Don't think about it now.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that happened.
But for you,
Don't
I
throw
can
it back.
see why that would be an actual fear for you of coughing during a presentation because you did everything you were supposed to do. Maybe not chug the water.
Yeah, I
That's
probably
to
should
that,
have
but
chugged it, so.
taking little sips is a good thing.
Yeah, and it was cold, which didn't help.
Yeah.
Something more, maybe like tea with some honey or something. just
Maybe,
let it
yeah.
soothe it.
And just kind of sip it. Don't throw it back.
I've had water go straight down the front of me during a presentation as well, and I'm just like, excuse me. I did learn how to drink when I was a toddler. Wait, a baby toddler. Anyway, anybody else? Does anybody have anything?
I was just gonna mention this general. Everyone's familiar with Toastmasters, I assume, at least the name. So my mom was Rosie Reeder, if you didn't know her. She helped run Toastmasters for many years. And then it finally went away. And occasionally people would ask. And so finally, I kind of got involved too, started a group called Soldotna Speakers.
Mm.
It's basically Toastmasters, just want to pay all their fees and be part of the program. So we did same exact thing, but on our own. And it was pretty healthy, and the people that came just raved about it, just loved it, me included. But people get busy, and so, you know, sometimes someone come 1 out of 4 times, sometimes 2, sometimes 0, then 0, then 0. So it just kind of went away fairly recently, like within the last couple of years. So like if you end up doing a part 2 of this, or if there's general idea, I mean, I could even get, if people want to give a name, and I could give it to Stephanie Lamb, who was the leader.
Yeah.
That could be resurrected really easily, and we typically did it at lunchtime, and you could always bring your lunch, so everyone generally gets a lunch hour. It's not a massive commitment
Correct.
for an hour, hour 20, whatever you can do. So just throwing that out there, that could be something that comes from all this eventually, but it's just practice, like you say. It's a practice in a safe environment. You can't be wrong. And I don't know if any of you know the guy Randy Richardson. I don't know, Richardson, I think his last name. But he started coming to that, and he really wanted to learn and whatever. And his first time up there, he cried, literally. And I don't mind saying this because he would be okay with it.
Yeah.
So he was really nervous, extreme. And then, I don't know, 6 years later, he was the president of the club and could pull it off like nobody's business.
Yeah.
I've seen people go from A to Z really easy at that.
Well, and I know there has been talk of either getting a Toastmasters started. I had heard, I think it was Christine, didn't you talk about Toastmasters? You were just looking for one. Okay. So I can't remember. I went down a rabbit hole of looking to see what was nearby, and I couldn't find one. But I do believe that having something where people can work on that together, especially in such a small community, would be beneficial, especially when you feel safe and you know who's around, and it's like there's no judgment, because public speaking is hard. Like it is. And I think the more practice you have, the easier it gets.
And feedback, I think.
Yeah, and feedback is
Safe
really important.
Feedback.
Mhm.
And then
That's that safe space, because,
Mhm.
and I would be interested in something like that going forward, because you can only do so much practicing and timing at home, and when you get comfortable around individuals, knowing that you're not going to be embarrassed, you're not going to be judged.
Yeah.
They can help give you feedback on either the topic you're talking about or just the little nuances, I think is super beneficial. I mean, and I'm going to share this because I know some people in this room that when I started taking classes in public speaking in college, we did a lot of little exercises like this, and that's how I met my husband.
Aw.
So it was introducing.
Singles opportunity.
Yes. Go find a random person. I'm already an extrovert, if you don't already know that about me, but I targeted right on him. His eyes were down, and I said, I'm Cindy. I'm Cindy.
Not glad. It would have been funny if you were like, I'm Cindy Glassmaker.
I said,
Future.
I heard that you were, and that's another thing, is finding connection with someone, as little as it can be. I found out that he was from the same town that I grew up in, went to 2 different high schools, and I said, would you like to get to know each other so we could give a quick speech about each other, just a random information facts, and then here we are, 27 years later.
That's
But
awesome.
it's that little connection you can make with someone, big or small,
Mhm.
when you're speaking, I think helps bring out,
coffee.
helps reduce that nervousness or uncomfortableness of speaking, on
Yeah.
top of being prepared. So, but that's the
For
stuff
sure.
that I'd like to see, because I think it's important, in any setting, I think it's a good skill, and I wish it was something that we were doing with our kids in schools.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything else? I'm going to take a break because I'm about to have a coughing fit. And then I'm going to see if anybody wants to do some exercises. Okay. I'm going to turn this off. I'll be right back. Zoom.
Yeah, so let's just do 5, and then let's just stick around.
I'm gonna get this back going since everybody's in here. So I really like Cindy's idea. Since I didn't think we were gonna have this much extra time, who feels comfortable doing an exercise like what Cindy was saying about talking to somebody else, learning about them, and then doing a quick presentation? So anyone who's interested, find somebody that is not someone you know right now. And then go meet really quick. You don't have to. Nobody has to do it.
Yes, you do.
From memory. Just kidding. You can do from notes because I just talked about visual cues. You don't have to. Also, I'm only giving you guys 3 minutes. Boom. People online are really missing out here. Next time. I know. So next time. Just kidding.
Cassie Cameron from Cape Ed said she hopes to be here for the next one.
Awesome. I went so fast. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm going to turn off my mic for a second. Okay, you're done. Okay, we're gonna take, I know one person has to leave earlier, so you guys are actually gonna go first. No pressure. Okay, so come on up here. Then we have a makeshift Zoom microphone for you. So as long as you are there, they can see you.
That's the microphone?
It-
Oh, that's
it is,
I said microphone.
unfortunately.
I was thinking camera.
Here, this is you.
I'm holding it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It
Oh, I
is
see
the
what you're saying
microphone.
now. Okay. You lost me.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Ryan Kapp, and I had the distinct pleasure to meet Becky Freeman for the first time this afternoon. Becky works at PCHS, Peninsula Community Health Service, if you're not aware. She is a health systems change coordinator. So this is my words, not hers, but that's HESC. So we're going to use the acronym HESC. That's unofficial, but HESC, let's go. So that is actually tobacco cessation, or helping people get off tobacco or quit tobacco, or just anti-tobacco everything. Tobacco is evil is what she basically told me. So we should all get together tomorrow, same place, same time, because it will be Becky's 4th month anniversary in the Soldotna area. So she got here September 12th. So no kids, so she's free to care for her house plants very caringly, which is a passion of hers, as well as playing music, which includes guitar and singing. So when we conclude the afternoon, she'll be singing probably Stand By Me, actually, coincidentally. She grew up in Chicago, so I'm a sports guy, so I'm going to say she's a Blackhawk fan, but who knows? And then she lived in Oregon for 10 years, which would make her a duck. So now you're in Alaska. We're going to convert you to the salmon lifestyle. But it was my pleasure to meet Becky Freeman and introduce her to you all.
Thank you. You did a really good job. So you'll see yourself. If you want to stand right there, then everyone on Zoom can help you. Yep. Okay.
Hey guys, I'm Becky, and I will be introducing Ryan Kapp to you. He is an not an Alaska native, but he's grew up in Alaska. He's lived in the Soldotna area for 46 years, but been in Alaska for all 53 years of his young life. He is a family man. He has 2 children. One is a sophomore at junior at Boise State. The other is a sophomore at SoHi. He enjoys reading. He likes to travel. He enjoys stick sports as well, so golf and hockey. And he's also the president of the Central Emergency Services Fire Board. He likes to go to church. He's very social, very active social life, hangs out with his friends a lot. And he has been a financial advisor at Edward Jones for 21 years. So thanks for telling us what to do with our money. Love that. So good for the community. And that's kind of all I got. So thanks for being alive, Ryan.
So I thought that was really good. The only thing, try and find comfort of not just looking in his direction, looking around.
Oh, I was totally looking to him for validation.
Yeah. But that's the only thing that, like, honestly, you got up there again. We celebrate our successes, right? Yes, you did it. You did it. So who's next? Chuck's coming. Here's the wrench. Here's the wrench microphone. It really is a wrench. I know this is kind of embarrassing. This is what we have at the Kenai Chamber.
Good afternoon. My name's Chuck Winters, and I'd like to introduce the group to Jason Yeoman. Jason Yeoman is from Nome. He is also career-wise, he's a lead operator for Hillcorp. He also is a real estate investor, commercial and residential. Kind of like you don't have enough to do out at Hillcorp, but let's invest in real estate. And again, did I mention he's from Nome? Yeah. Anyway, but he did graduate from Skyview in Soldotna, so their family moved here at some point. At any rate, in his off time, he's a pilot. He likes to fish, camp, spend time with his kids, and if he doesn't get enough punishment at work, he does have 2 kids, and 4 adopted kids, and 45 fostered children over the years. So anyway, that's Jason.
So how'd Chuck do? Chuck does a lot of public speaking. We see him a lot at the Soldotna Chamber. Does anyone have anything they want to say? Anything? I think he did pretty good. There's only a couple things of the uhs. If you can avoid them, just a couple times. You can replay this though. But I think this is great because you don't always get to watch yourself do these things, right? You can fast forward. But other than that, I mean, you do public speaking a lot. So you're probably pretty comfortable with it. Do you gotta? Yeah. You gotta do Chuck's now. Wrench. I know. Okay.
Well, thank you everybody for having me here. My name is Jason Yeoman, as Chuck introduced. There's not much I could tell you about Chuck because he's really good at listening and asking questions. And all the questions was asked by him and nothing by me. So what I did do though, is I did get his name is Chuck White, or Winter, I'm sorry. And the other thing I do like to do, and I do this a lot with my family, you guys mentioned you guys like jokes. And one of my best jokes is actually a guy named Chuck. And I don't really call him Chuck Norris jokes, I call him Chuck Norris facts. And the other thing I noticed about Mr. Winter is he is a very masculine man, just like Chuck Norris. So one of the things I like to say is, do you guys ever heard of how many push-ups Chuck Norris could do? And one of my say is he could do them all. So thank you for asking me all the questions, Chuck. Sorry I didn't get any information about you, but this is Mr. Chuck Winters.
I appreciate that because he wasn't prepared, but he made the best of it. Right? I think, and there was confidence in that. It was a good job. Okay, who is next? Okay, come on up. Wrench. I know.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gaetano Morales. I work at PCHS, and I had the pleasure of speaking with Cindy. Cindy is originally from the Philippines. She moved here when she was about 3 years old. She moved to Novato, California with her family, where she, as she mentioned earlier, met her husband while in college taking an introduction to public speaking class. So she works for Homer Electric and has been on the peninsula for, I believe you said 27 years with your husband and your family. So that's a wonderful thing. Unfortunately, like the gentleman before me, I did most of the speaking about myself the whole time and didn't catch enough on Cindy. So that's all I have for the moment. But Cindy, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
I really like how you started out with who you were and where you worked too. Like that just came naturally, and that's a really good place to start. It gives some credibility to who you are. Awesome. Cindy, you ready?
I can't help but laugh at that.
What Liam thinks of this stuff.
I know, I love it.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Cindy Glassmaker. I do work for Homer Electric. I also own a private lodging business here on the peninsula. I had the pleasure of meeting, he gave me G, which I do love, but I love to hear people's full names, and Hitano is how he pronounces his name. He's lived here for 2 years, works for PCHS, jack of all trades, it sounds like, HR assistant, trainer, outreach. If you need a good CPR class, he's your guy. He's married, been here on the peninsula for 2 years. And what I love about that, meeting a gentleman like G, is that he came here for a reason. And coming into this environment right here is a great network opportunity. And I hope that we all welcome him here. And it was a pleasure to meet you. And I know for sure we're going to become fast friends, because I know that feeling of having moved here to a completely different community, which, by the way, he came from Los Angeles, California. And it's a big transition up here. But again, all of us, whether we were raised here or moved here for a particular reason, it's there's something that brought us here and kept us here into this community. So welcome, G, and look forward to getting to know you.
Good job. Okay, Cindy's running the class next time because she's really good. Did anyone else do the exercise? You guys, you did. Who did you do it with?
Emily.
Perfect. Okay, come on up. I almost took the wrench away. I'm so sorry.
Hi, my name's Jennifer Showalter Yeoman, and I got to meet with Emily today. Emily works for Cook Inlet Aquaculture, and she is from New York. And so she was raised in New York. She went to college in Vermont, and she's lived on the Kenai Peninsula since 2018, I believe. And she has a 2-year-old daughter. And so she enjoys Alaska, and I don't think she ever wants to leave again. So it was very nice talking with her.
the wrench, you got the power.
All right, last but not least, as Jennifer just said, I'm Emily and I spoke with Jennifer. So Jennifer is a social worker at the hospital. She's also a member of the Kenai, and she does a lot of public speaking in her role with the Kenai, educating the public about their education programs they have, and I think a lot of other topics as well. I had written a bunch of stuff down and I left it over there because she did such a good job without her notes. But yeah, that's all I've got. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Jennifer.
So again, you got up here and you did something that's probably outside of your comfort zone. Don't ever worry about doing something the way someone else is doing it. Make sure that you do it the way you're comfortable. Okay. You did a good job. And again, same with just try and not do the because those are usually something that's showing that you are off topic or you don't completely know what you're talking about, which obviously you wouldn't know 100% of what you're talking about right now, right? I don't know why I'm still holding this wrench. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna put the wrench down. Yeah.
If I may, the core of that is the only reason you say is to buy yourself time, whether you know it or not, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with just silence. Just
Yes.
gathering your thoughts. So just replace the with that same amount of time of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
No one's gonna think anything of it.
Yeah, for some reason, yeah, and you're right. So replacing ums with silence is definitely a good way to kind of catch yourself back up. It's if you notice that you're doing it, it is easier to get rid of it. I noticed I used to do it a lot. And then I would hear videos of myself speaking and I wanted to get rid of that because it chops things up and people start to hear it and that's what they start to hear rather than what you're talking about. That makes sense? So we actually made it to an hour, which is cool. Does anyone have anything else they would like to talk about before we end this? And then we will send out a survey too so that we can get any information about how you felt about the class, what you'd like to see in the future, workshops. I would like to get something together like the Toastmasters, but the speakers group would be great. So.
Can you talk more about that part 2 possibility?
Well, that's basically kind of a question. Oh, I guess it doesn't, the clicky doesn't work. It had my contact information, which is just Samantha@kenaichamber.org. My card's out there. If anybody wants to see a part 2, that's where the survey is going to come in. What you're looking for. Because I can make up stuff to talk about all day long. Obviously not all day long, just 19 minutes, but I will work on that. So I want to know what you guys want. That's where all these lecture series are going to go, is that at the end, that's what whoever's doing the class is going to ask. Did you get everything out of this class that you were looking for? And if not, what can we help you with? The Chamber of Commerce is here to help businesses and individuals. So now it's time for us to actually do what we say we're going to do. So with that said, please fill out the survey if you have any questions, comments, but again, concerns, right over to Liam. I don't need those in my life. So if anybody has anything else, otherwise, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you had a good time. Yeah, of course.
And if you weren't already a fabulous public speaker and comfortable, you pulled it off perfectly.
Oh, thank you.
You did a good job. You really did.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yay. Okay, bye, Zoom people. I'll talk to you soon.